I will call the work session of Hillsboro School District 1J to order. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for our first meeting of the academic year. I hope your school year has begun swimmingly. Our first agenda item is Saida with a presentation on healthy and safe schools.
Thank you, Mark. Okay, so let's go. Oh, yes, awesome. All right, well, thank you, everyone. So first off, I'd like to introduce Maya Hawking, and Maya is the Resource Conservation Manager for our district. For those of you that don't know Maya, she basically has oversight of district's resource conservation program. And what that means is she's involved in developing, implementing, monitoring, evaluating the district resources and conservation program, energy consumption, and optimizing our energy use in our district. And so Maya is actually the person that created the plan and worked with our environmental health and safety supervisor, William Wenslaw. And so Maya will be presenting the plan today. And just for full disclosure, probably should have brought this plan in front of you back in June because the plan is essentially looking back at what we did the last school year. And so typically we would present it to the board and share the information with the board in the plan in June, and then submitted to ODE in July. Well, with the transition between myself and Casey, that was overlooked. So we wanted to make sure it came in front of you during the first work session of this school year. So this plan is essentially a look back at what happened last year. And after we share it with you tonight, tomorrow we'll be submitting it to ODE. And that's just our protocol and our process. Okay. And so I will.
I'll say don't feel bad about that. There was a lot of transition going on there.
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate your flexibility and grace. So I will turn it over to Maya.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you for inviting me to this work session. As Saide said, I am the Resource Conservation Manager. A few years back, Casey presented this plan to me to update, and I've kind of been the owner of this for that time. I believe Will be inheriting it since he has come into the environmental health and safety role. So this is just a quick, kind of a high-level overview of what the plan is, and a few of the details. For some of you, it may be an introduction. For some, it might be a review. The Health and Safety Schools, or the HAS plan, is actually one of two parts. There's a HAS plan and there's a HAS statement. They go together and they are to be submitted to the Oregon Department of Education. This is a requirement for all school districts, and the purpose of it is to ensure that our buildings are handling the potential environmental hazards that may be within them. All buildings have some building materials that present an environmental hazard. We have it in our house, we have it in our schools, and the purpose of this is to address that and to communicate out how the district intends to address it should it become a hazard. This is to ensure the safety and well-being of our students and staff. So what is required in a HAS plan? Well, as Saide said, we have to submit. Actually, they literally just updated this this week. ODE did. The HAS plan is developed and doesn't need to be presented annually unless there's a change. So this year we've had a change because we have new people that are listed, responsible parties. So we will be presenting and posting a new one. But the annual or the HAS statement does have to be posted and updated every year by June 1st. So we'll be looking for that, the next one in June. We have to update our responsible persons, and we have to complete the list of facilities, which is also another update for this year. We have to post it to the website and make it available to our community in hard copy form. So the major areas that this plan contains, the environmental hazards that are the focus are such as lead in water, lead in paint, asbestos, radon, carbon monoxide detection, integrated pest management, and the communications out to the community about those hazards and our testing protocols.
Up until last year, the ones that are highlighted were not required, but we did them anyway. So we did monitor those. They're not a requirement. They weren't a requirement of the plan, but my understanding is moving forward, ODE has added them as a requirement of the plan. So we've been doing them all along. Now they will be included as part of a requirement of the plan, and all districts will be required to do it. We've been doing it all along.
Correct. So the different areas of focus have different testing protocols. Radon and lead in water are routine testing schedules, and those schedules are posted within the HAS plan. These regular testing sessions or opportunities are on a rotating schedule, and we also have a third-party vendor that comes in and does the testing for us. Testing is performed on all buildings. If we have a new building, they start out with the testing. So the schedules are based on the year of the building, so to speak. Testing reports are posted as well on the HSD website. There was a little bit of caveat on that last, just a lead in water, just something, a note that fixtures that are posted non-potable may not be included in the testing. And that is outlined in our HAS plan as well as in our testing protocols. So lead in paint and asbestos are two areas of focus that are typically contained when they're contained or encapsulated, which in this district they are. They don't pose any hazard until you go and disturb them. So the lead in paint and asbestos, the testing is performed in anticipation of a renovation project. Testing is performed rather as needed rather than on a schedule. And we have a complete asbestos program documentation as well. So integrated pest management should be something that we're all pretty familiar with. It's a very comprehensive plan, and our HSD staff in our maintenance department are trained to deal with the integrated pest management protocols. The IPM basics in education and the IPM, there's a big communication piece with the IPM program. A lot of it is cultural and hygiene or sanitation. There's also physical and mechanical elements involved in this program, and the use of pesticides in order to control our pests.
So basically, like with sanitation, it's keeping areas clean. With physical, mechanical, we're looking at traps if need be, and then if the pests are within the building, and then the pesticides is basically keeping the pests out of the building or around the building. So the three different forms are utilized in our district. We have a strict protocol about pesticides, and we try to use that. It's like kind of least restrictive, so we try not to use it. We try to use all other mitigation forms, and if nothing else works, then we would include pesticides, but there's a protocol with labeling and notifying the public that we're using pesticides for what reasons and what areas. just a little additional piece there.
So the annual compliance also includes these communication procedures. So we notify the school board, the community by posting information on the website, or in the case of IPM, there's communication happening throughout that whole process. We name a responsible position, and that's outlined in the HAS. We make the public aware of how to retain a copy of this. It's made available upon request. We communicate with ODE and get a certification that the plan is up to date. We have access, the public has access to all of the results of our testing reports. And we may use an auto dialer feature to notify parents to alert them of elevated test levels if necessary. That may be one tool that we use to communicate. And I think that's it. One thing that is not up there is the two parts. We have the HAS plan and the statement. So the plan, like I said, it doesn't need to be submitted or updated unless it's necessary every year. But the statement is something that is updated every year. And the board does not necessarily need to approve either. The board approved the house plan back in 2019, and it should be good as an approved process and a document. So tomorrow I will make sure that these are all updated and on our website. And then any questions? Covers a lot of material in that plan, so.
Yeah, the plan is in our packet, so we've all had access to that. I think you've had some questions already, so thanks for doing that. Anybody else have any questions?
No questions, but I want to thank Saide, thank you.
Yeah.
For responding to my questions concerning the lead and the asbestos and everything. So I appreciate that.
While we have Maya Hawkins here to embarrass her, I just wanted to give you a shout out for all the work that you do. Appreciate you being here tonight. And if you don't know Maya's resource management part of her job, she obviously does a lot of different jobs in HSD, but in terms of resource management, Maya's work not only protects our natural resources, but saves our district a ton of money. And so we're really lucky to have you in your position. So thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
My absolute pleasure.
Thank you, Maya.
I did see, like you said, Will's name on there, so we're transitioning to Will, I guess.
Yes,
Plan anyways?
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
going forward.
Yes.
Did we do a bunch of extra testing the past 5 years for bond renovation work? Like
We have done a fair amount of testing,
Yeah.
and we have preemptive testing and very thorough testing. So there has been an amount, yes.
Anybody else? Oh, I can see it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maya.
All right. You're welcome to stay, but don't have to.
But you
An Irish goodbye.
There you go. Most of our agenda tonight is very work session, so I intend for most of these other agenda items to be very much discussion between us all. So I look forward to our conversations. Our first up is the board goals discussion. What I would say on that front is in the past, we've had other board members who were very engaged in this process, and it was great to have them. One of the things we try to steer clear of or be aware of is we're not setting district goals in this process. Right? We're not saying, I want to increase third grade reading proficiency by what, those are district goals. The administrative team has those in our strategic plan. Maybe linking our goals back to the strategic plan is great. But what we're trying to do is set attainable goal, SMART, something measurable, attainable, whatever they are, relevant, time bound, sure. We're trying to set goals for the board, and it feels like 2 or 3 is probably enough. In my experience, so, with the absence of the person who generally led this discussion this year, would anybody like to kick us off with something that they had been considering for a possible board goal? So we don't need to adopt them today. In fact, I don't intend for us to adopt them today. I just want to have a discussion about the kinds of things we may want to set as board goals and get the perspectives of everyone on the board. I think in the past, one of our goals that we've set, which is very achievable, is to be sure to continue to have updates at board meetings with our PAC members. So I would love to see us maybe include something like that again. You can see what our goals were before. We talked about doing a dinner thing with one of them recently, right? Did we talk about that? So so setting them around community engagement, like that last one there, feel like that one could just stand in a lot of ways. So
Mark, Erica has her hand up.
oh, great. How would I see that? Only you can see that. Okay. Erica,
Without her camera on it.
Erica, you got a suggestion?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we got you.
I think I'm in line with what you just said, Mark. I was wondering if maybe we can have it be a little bit more like actionable steps, because it is just for 1 year. Like doing things that we really want to complete. And I know that we've heard that from our PACs, that they want to get to know us as a board and have it not be so formal, and just that feeling of being accessible. So I think that actually having a more specific goal to say, like, you know, our goal for our board is to share a meal with each one of our established PACs during this next year, and just something like really concrete.
Anybody have thoughts on that? Like, you know, right, the hate the idea? Alright. So, we can put something up. I like it. But that.
We didn't any of that. It's getting really choppy, the audio for us online.
Patrick and Nancy, are we getting choppy, or was it just Erica's internet connection?
We can't hear anything going on right now. We can hear you now, but I couldn't hear anything else.
Maybe I'll move these a little closer and out. It's also a reminder to talk.
Speak up.
Talk to the
Talk to
owls
the
and
owl.
not to one another.
Sure. So I like to hear this idea. Does anybody have any concerns about trying to schedule a meal with our established PACs? Yeah, Nancy?
I would like that we would ask the pets how they want to get to know us. To say you want to get to know someone is one thing. Tell me what that means for them. Does it mean a dinner? Does it mean wanting to know what we like? I don't know, but I want to make sure that we're asking specifically how they wish to get to know us. And then let's respond.
That sounds good. Yeah, I mean, and I don't know how we quantify that, but we can maybe do some outreach to the PACs about, so we've heard that they would like some more informal engagement, so maybe Francesca, can you take that one? And then when we actually compose the board goal, we'll have that feedback for to include.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
so specifically, Mark, if we could make an inquiry to all of the PACs by the end of October, and then by the end of December, make our plan to connect with all of them based on that input.
I would hope it happened before that. I think like we should be setting our board goals for the year sooner than that. So hopefully if everybody's cool with the idea, wants to get informal, you know, by next meeting or something, we could at least have a follow-up conversation of this. I don't love the idea of putting a goal, contact all the PACs and figure out how they want to informally get to know us. That doesn't feel like a goal. It's not even a board goal. It's like a thing, Francesca. So yeah, if we can gather that, how people want to get to know us informally. If it is a meal, great. If not, bring back suggestions for next meeting. We could have another conversation about what we actually set as the board goal for next week.
3 out of 4 of our PACs are meeting within the next week, so I should be able to get that information for you.
Perfect. Would that be all right, Nancy? Monique, you had something?
Yes, so in doing this meeting with the PACs, how is that gonna impact us as a board with the public meeting law?
Oh, we do it at the beginning of work session.
Okay.
We've set it, so I don't know how we would exactly do it, but in the past, we've actually gaveled into the works, I guess it was before the age of virtual and cameras. I always try to get close to finishing eating before we start, because I don't love people watching me eat. So that is a thing, that's a good point. Oh, yeah,
So that-
generally-
it would be here though.
It would be here, yes, it would be on a work session night. Would be in, maybe downstairs, a little bigger room. We've done up here in the past, that was just pack leadership, one pack, one leadership. So yeah, maybe downstairs, a little bit bigger. So yeah, it would be within the confines of a meeting.
And do we even, I mean, I think that unless we're discussing things that we're gonna vote as a board, it's not really an issue of public law meetings, right? We're not, if we want to get just clarification on that.
Yeah, but they're gonna be discussing topics with us and it feels like it's more appropriate to do something like that in the confines of a public meeting. I'll just have to get past my uneasiness with people watching me eat on camera. Maybe I'll videotape myself having dinner and try to clean up some stuff.
Video is not actually a requirement, it's the audio.
Fair point, right? So maybe for that part's just audio, we'll see. But yes, I like that idea, Erica, and I think like the Nancy's point, let's figure out if every PAC has the goal of getting to know us a little more informally, and if so, how can we set the board goal around that? Do we have any other, so Proud to be HSD is definitely one of our main events. I would be in favor of a board goal encouraging board members to participate in our events like Proud to be HSD. Is there another one I should be thinking of? Do we want to call Proud to be HSD out specifically, or just more talk about district related events? I'm open to suggestions, I guess is what I'm getting at.
I just had 2 more things and then I'll be quiet. One,
I'd rather go last. Go ahead.
I was going to say, along those lines, because we have a new strategic plan and a new value statement, like getting the word out around that and us being the champions for that work, I think somehow maybe working that into a goal and how we do that, whether it's in outreach events like Proud to be HSD or other activities. Like in the past, when we worked on, when we were advocating, we went to school, back to school nights or different things that we were trying to engage the community. So that's one. And then the last one was we talked a little bit in our retreat around having more meetings with councils from the cities that are part of HSD and just being more intentional about building those relationships with leaderships in Hillsboro, Cornelius. And I think that that's just maybe the area that we highlight as well. So I just wanted to remind everyone about that one.
Yeah, I like the idea of it, at least making a goal to have a joint meeting with, Hillsboro, and we did North Plains in here once, didn't we? I feel like we did. And I think we did Cornelius here too on our data when I wasn't here, is that right?
I can remember the city managers.
Yeah. And that, like, they have to be careful about public meeting law too, so it has to be, with Hillsboro, we did it at the Civic Center, because they meet on the same nights as us. So, you know, if it's not crazy cumbersome, I guess, the board requests the staff is like, is it crazy cumbersome to do these joint meetings, and if so, if not, would it be appropriate to put them as a board goal? 'Cause I like when we did them before too. You're hearing me and Erica go back to a lot of pre-pandemic stuff. I like pandemic changed everything, we get it, but there was some stuff that was pretty good. Doing those things again might not be so bad. So it's whomever's area that would be on cabinet okay with taking on the idea of figuring out that's a thing we could do.
You could at least reach out to the city and talk about the logistics of doing it.
Yeah. And the city would probably just be there, or like Hillsboro would be there.
It could be able to do it downstairs. We could just hear this stuff.
I think yeah. In the past, I think Hillsboro, at least, since they're meeting on the same night, we did it in that sort of antechamber, and then they adjourned themselves to a regular session, and we stayed and did our work session in their antechamber, which felt pretty convenient for both them and us.
Yeah, that's
We have a
expensive.
live stream our meeting, so that would make it different for us, so.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how that would be received for us. So I wouldn't.
Can't bring our owls, it looked pretty portable.
I just wouldn't wanna bank on us having another meeting there. Then a meeting there, but
Oh,
That's interesting.
well, we didn't do regular session, but work session, and, yeah, okay. Nancy?
I just want to make sure that we are connecting with all of the communities that represent our school district. Hillsboro is just one of what, 5, 6? So I just want to make sure if Hillsboro is going to be a big one, that's fine. And then maybe we have another one with some of our smaller communities so that we're connecting with all of them. But the goal that we're talking about, Mark, is making sure that we connect with all of them, at least annually. Does that make sense?
Yeah, as long as they want to. I think Hillsboro, Cornelius, and North Plains are the 3 municipalities that we have a relationship with. If there somebody else you're thinking of, I think we're open to suggestion, but those are the 3 municipalities we have.
I overcounted. Thank you.
Okay. And those are the ones we've done before, yeah.
Did you want to kind of go back to the event
Yeah, okay, sure.
idea?
Okay.
Because certainly Project HSC is our biggest, and that
Yeah.
would make sense. And then we definitely have some other ones that are coming up, even as soon as October. We have, we're going to be convening a meeting of all of our parent group leaders, including Packard leaders that can make it. That's on October 11th from 11:30 to 1. We'll get all these dates out to you. The annual faith luncheon is the following Wednesday on the 18th. I will probably be setting up a series of fall and then spring coffee chats with Superintendent Ryman. And so there are a lot of different opportunities that would be good for like an individual board member to it, you know what I mean?
Right,
Spread
right,
yourselves
right,
out. We
yeah.
don't need necessarily a lot of people there, but if that's how you wanted to go about it, you could kind of just try to have representation in each of those, and then maybe a bigger presence at the festival.
Worthy goal, something the board will work to ensure that there's board representation at as many district-sponsored community events as possible, or something like that. Like that feels like we all have different work schedules, and not everybody needs to show up to everything. So, yeah, I think we had something like that in the past, or maybe like something we can look for in our history. So I think we had something along those lines. But yeah, I like that quite a bit. Like we should be trying to be present at district events whenever we can. Yeah, it's a lot of pre-pandemic throwback right now, yeah. If nobody else has anything else they want to add, we'll let the administrative team run with what we've got, and you guys bring us back some ideas, and Travis, Yvette, and I can talk about, and Rose can talk about like where we're at, and have something to bring back to discuss at the next meeting. Would that be all right with everyone? At nods or whatever? All right, cool. All right. Next up is the working agreement discussion, and again, just a discussion of, I guess everybody needs to be comfortable enough with it that we are willing to sign it. You have them, look at you. All right. Rose has hard copy for those of us in the room. It's in your packet for those of you online. I don't recall us having any suggestions last time. When would we traditionally adopt it? The regular session next time?
Yes, if there's not one, or, whatever you want to do.
So if there's no changes to be made and everybody's comfortable with signing it, we can pass it around and adopt it
Thank you.
at the next meeting. So is there any discussion, anything anybody wants to talk about regarding the working agreement? There you go. That didn't take 15 minutes. You didn't make it all the way around. So I guess have we talked about this with the student representatives before? Do you understand what we're talking about here?
We talked about it in
our retreat, I think a little bit, yeah. So, at orientation. So yeah, some of the things I would suggest seem obvious, like treat each other respectfully, essentially. And while that may seem obvious, not every board in America does that. So it's a good reminder for us that it's important to have civil discourse and treat each other respectfully more than we're acting as a board. Well, all the time I would hope, but especially when we're here. All right. Next agenda item. Yeah, really. Next agenda item is the public comment audience participation discussion. I think Patrick and Monique worked together to put together the draft that's in your packet. I think we have both of them. Both in the packet or one in the packet? Yeah, both in the packet. And they're also separate things in your board area for the meeting. Do you guys have anything you want to highlight, or did you guys prepare anything to chat with us about, or?
I didn't prepare anything to chat with it. I mean, Patrick and I worked online, working together to get this done, and we think we've condensed it, go down some, and made it pretty clear. So, welcome any feedback.
Does anybody have any feedback regarding the possibility of a new audience participation statement? Erica?
I just wanted to say thank you, Patrick and Monique. It reads really nice and welcoming, and I appreciate you taking the time to do this for us. So I just wanted to say I have no suggestion. No, that's really good. Great job. Thank you. I did wanted to add maybe just a comment, Mark, to the working agreements and thinking about the board goals and how we want to participate. I don't think I was trying to find the working agreements. If we say something about just kind of sharing the load of participation for those events or for the activities that we have, so it doesn't end up, always being the same people out there. But, as we create like a schedule of the activities, when you see that that's might be an area for our working agreements to maybe highlight that a little bit.
Anybody have any feedback on the audience? Patrick, yeah, anything you want to share?
Yeah, just wanted to mention that I know this is the the audience participation statement is a relatively small thing, so I appreciate the rest of the board humoring us. But I really did feel in talking to folks like we could make it even more welcoming and meet their needs. And I appreciate Monique's help, making it a good statement that addresses everything without being overly long. And I think we've got to a good place. So thanks again for letting us work on this, and hopefully it'll be a positive for our visitors.
Anybody else have anything to add? Yeah, I also thank you guys for working on it. It is much, it covers all the stuff we need to cover essentially. But it is much more welcoming, I guess, than the previous one. A suggestion I would have is that I'm open to discussion on it. I would still like to mention somewhere that first line. Participation is covered by BDDH, because when you look up BDDH, it is legit. The audience, so this is what we read as a sort of condensed representation of policy BDDH, but I sort of feel like calling out the policy is important at some point during the statement. So I'm open to suggestion, whether it's at the beginning, whether it's at the end. It feels like just that one line, all participation at board meetings is covered by policy BDDH from the previous one. I would prefer to keep that in there, because that's essentially the audience participation statement is a condensed version of that policy. And I think it's important to still remain anchored to that policy, and as especially if we get into a contentious situation where we feel like we have to intervene, which hasn't happened in a long time, but we have justification based on the policy. So does anybody have any thoughts on that? Like the idea of including that? Monique, Patrick, is that too intrusive on your vision?
I was just reading over this to see where it might fit, where it would best fit. I'm thinking paragraph 4, just before we can,
Oh, yeah, right before we welcome frank discussions? Is that what you're thinking?
I was thinking actually after that sentence, like sandwiched in between, but it could come before that either. But I think down in paragraph 4 is where it should be.
Right, because BDDH does call out some of the structured channels as well. You're right, yeah.
I think a reference to the policy is a great idea, and that where Monique just identified would be fine. But we should always refer to the actual policy so that the public knows where they can go to get the actual language.
Monique, where was your specific thought?
So in paragraph 4, it says we welcome frank discussion. So after that sentence, in between the two sentences.
What do you think about that, Mark?
Yeah, like that.
Patrick, what was your thought on that?
Yeah, that's fine. I think we tried to be pretty ruthless in cutting everything we possibly could, because we had feedback that folks wanted it to be a little shorter. But I'm happy to add back anything that people like. This is a good example of something that some board members feel should really be in there. We should definitely add it back.
Yeah, I like that. I like that too. Okay, I will add that there.
Is it in the other one? So I guess the only other, okay, I like that. Cool. The only other, like one word was, that in that same paragraph, I was trying to find it in the original. The board cannot hear comments well, we can, we're just not supposed to, and we don't want to. So I was wondering if we could do will not hear comments regarding any individual district staff member. I mean, we could cover our ears like whatever, but yeah. So does anybody have any strong objections to the idea of that word cannot being will not?
What about does not?
Does not, here you go, that's fine too, yeah. Same sentence, the one right before, the board cannot hear comments regarding any individual staff member. We can, but the board does not. That's not thing we intend to do with public comment, right? So,
okay.
So does not, will not, something like that, and then, yeah. Those are the only two thoughts I had. I love, it's great, yeah. hopefully previous audience time participants felt welcomed, but I appreciate that we are being intentional to do that in our statement.
One other thing that in my job, I always like to, include what the title of policies are. And so I would like to, where it says KL, I would write KL and write the
Oh.
title of the policy and then BDDH and write the title of the policy.
Yeah.
I'll do that if that's okay for both,
Yeah.
all of you. That was my one suggestion.
Okay.
Those.
Hey, when we undertook this at the outset, are there any requirements for what we're supposed to read for? I think we just decided to,
There's no requirements to have public comment at all.
right, that's
And
fair.
so we
Right.
get to make it up if there's none at all.
Okay.
No.
All right. Yeah, thank you guys. Great job. Appreciate it. I'm sure it was not an inconsequential amount of time, so I appreciate you taking time away from class to work on your own. So, doesn't feel like a thing we vote on, doesn't feel like a thing we adopt, we just start doing the new one next time?
I will,
Maybe circulate in a board update,
sure.
the revised version,
yeah.
and the next board update Friday.
Sure.
And then, we have, I think we're all pretty good about reading our board updates and following up with cabinet and Rose and Travis about questions, so I guess if Rose takes a shot at including language and anybody has a problem with it, let her and or me know, and we would just go with the previous one for the September meeting, but if everybody seems okay with it, I think we could transition to this like in 2 weeks. Saying like a lot. Alright, I need to clean that up too. It's been a while. Here we go. The next agenda, so we done? Good? Right. Next agenda item, a discussion regarding board compensation policy. House Bill 2753 was enacted. For those of you who are, is everybody sort of familiar with this topic at all? Nancy, hi, is that a hand up or is that a? No, okay. So I would say, I think you would agree, this was one of the primary topics at the OSBA summer conference. Several sessions revolved around it, several little breakouts revolved around it. Spencer was very detailed, so I think Yvette and I have quite a bit of extra information and color we can add to the conversation. The FAQ that we linked somewhere, that was in the board folder. That's pretty good as well. That was composed by OSBA. Me, Erica, we were very careful not to engage in conversations regarding how we felt about the policy or whether we thought Hillsboro should have it or adopt it or not when we were at the conference. To your point about public law, we realized it's something we're gonna have to talk about as a group. I think all of us spent quite a bit of time gaining more information regarding it, but we're very careful in a group dynamic not to, so I have no idea if Erica or Yvette think it's a good idea, but what kind of background does everyone want to have for this? Do you want me to like tell you where I think we're at, or does everybody feel like they have a solid background foundation for the discussion?
I would ask that you give me some insight on what you thought. I have a little heartburn with this idea at its core, but perhaps there's a little bit more that I didn't get to, and I apologize that I didn't get to read that in depth.
Sure. The way I understand it, and please correct me if I'm wrong, and Erica, you were there. So far, no district has adopted it in Oregon, or at least as of the summer board conference, nobody had adopted it. Probably nobody was in session. You are not required to adopt the policy. It is optional. This is a stipend. It is not pay. We are not employees of the district that was specifically mentioned in the House bill, because employees of the district cannot serve on the school board. So receiving a stipend does not make you a member or a staff member of the district. There are, if you choose, so we currently provide reimbursement for district related expenses. I don't think any of us have submitted travel invoices to get to the district center, but it's in a rural district, but it's very large. You could have a 50-mile commute to the school district office for your board meetings twice a month. And I think many board members around the state in those conditions would turn in a travel receipt. The district has a travel pay per mile, whatever the national standard is, if we adopt whatever that is. So we've never done that, but I think you could if you need to, I guess that. So we have reimbursement. If you're out of district business at OSBA conference or NSBA, we have meal limits that you can do. Reimbursements are different than the district paying for your hotel. That's not a reimbursement. The district paid for it, you go stay in that hotel. So if you attend the conference fee, district pays for that. You didn't pay and get reimbursed. So, but we have a reimbursement policy. If we decide to enact this stipend, we have two choices: continue to reimburse for expenses in addition to the stipend, or say we expect the stipend to cover those reimbursable expenses. So if we choose, sorry?
I guess I didn't get that from the FAQs that you have the option to say no, if you take the stipend, you won't get reimbursed.
It wasn't in the FAQ, but it was something Spencer talked about. No, and we choose to do that. It is a thing we would choose to do. So Spencer said that we have to choose as a board, if we enact the stipend policy, that you either continue your reimbursements, or you could choose to, if you wanted to, say, all right, no more reimbursements generally that you're getting paid the stipend. That's an option. If we don't enact the policy, you are required to continue doing reimbursements. So it's a weird two-edged thing, right? So if you decide not to enact the policy, your district has to provide reimbursement opportunities to board member for expenses. If you choose to enact the stipend, you can continue that, or you can say, we don't do stipends, we don't do reimbursements anymore. The other sort of variables were, you don't need to scream it from the rooftop. Every board member has it. So if the district decides to enact this, every board member has the option to avail themselves of it or not. Individual board members can decline to participate. We don't have to go around the room and declare whether we're going to or not, but whether or not you are participating would be a matter of public record and available from a Freedom of Information Act request. There's some debate whether or not districts can just do it by consent. There was some weird thing I just heard recently that we don't have to act. There's no urgency to act on. We could enact it for this year, we could act it for next year. So those are the things that did I miss anything you think is important? Eric, did I miss anything you think that any of the nuances that were important?
I think you said you're not a district employee, you don't get PERS. You also can't donate it, so you can't just say, oh, can I take my stipend and then donate it to a cause of your liking? I mean, the best cause is a district, so just keep it in the district. So that was just another question that somebody asked.
The maximum we could allocate whatever we would like. The maximum to allocate is $500 per month. Which it comes out of the general fund. There's no new funding available from the state when they pass this law. So it would be money from the general fund. Michelle, is there any color anything I'm missing there? They want, okay. So yes, there's no new allocation of funding. So if we choose to avail ourselves of it, it comes from the general fund. This is where I think some of the big districts and smaller districts where you have to drive 50 miles to Fort Wayne River, that it's going to be very much in, your local lens is going to play it. I mean, our budget is 280 million a year, something like that ish. So if we all had $500 stipend to be $42,000 a year. It's not a huge number, it's noteworthy, but if your budget is, if you have 50 students in your district, that's gonna be a very big number, and the number doesn't change. They could, a rural district or a small district could avail themselves of that same 5, they may only have 5 board members, but still. So that was something whatever Erica said triggered that for me as well. So.
And I also wanted to add that, school board members are the only elected body that don't receive a stipend right now. Other electeds do.
That's right. Yeah, all elected offices, and that was, I think some of this was generated by us having to start filing statements of financial interest. And people realizing, oh, everybody else who does that gets paid and we don't. What do you, all right, so is that enough color to have a conversation?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, is that enough perspective or whatever?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
I had read through this and, 2 things. So one, what you were talking about with the stipend and reimbursement is at the bottom of page 2 of the frequently asked
thank you.
questions. Yep. And the other thing is that this is taxable, so everyone should know that it's not free, so to speak. It's not free anyway, but.
Right, you're not an employee, so taxes will not be, withholding will not be, so if we avail ourselves of it, taxes won't be withheld from it, like your paycheck. You'll get, if you've been an independent contractor, got a 1099 at the end of the year, you would get a 1099 from the district at the end of the year that you would have to report on your federal and state income tax. Good point, thanks. So, we allocate a lot of time, we've been through a lot of time, but I don't know where anybody in the room feels about it. I would say there was quite a bit of discussion at the OSBA conference of how providing a stipend like this could create opportunities for people to serve that have not had the opportunity to serve in the past. And so I am definitely sympathetic to that thought. I don't actually know how I feel about it yet. My knee-jerk reaction at first was one, and as I've learned more about it, I'm changing. So I'm curious where y'all are. Any thoughts? Should we have one or should we not?
I am admitting that I have a little heartburn with this, because I know the budget and I know that we struggle with our budget, and any dollar we take from the district is a dollar that we're taking from a teacher or a staff member or the district as a whole. When I volunteered to run for office, I knew that this was an unpaid gig. If I travel, you guys give me some reimbursement or some mileage or something, and that's fine. But I have a little bit of heartburn with this. Maybe because I don't know all the details, but just initially, that's what I'm thinking.
We're ready to hear from everybody.
Yeah, I too, I have a lot of heartburn with this. And the first thing that came to mind as well was the budget and that it would be dollars away from children, the kids, basically, at the end of the day. And a volunteer is volunteer. In my mind, I went into this knowing the same. It's a volunteer position. It's not paid. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of effort. I get it. But I'm not a fan. That's where I stand. I do like the option that if the board decides as a whole to go with this, that the individual members can opt out. So I do appreciate that aspect of the bill.
Go ahead, Erica.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say that, I think back to your point, Mark, there was a lot of discussion about how, this is a lot of work. It's a time commitment, and oftentimes people that are working parents that want to participate, but they lose out on wages for their family to be able to do this work and not able to do that, that this could be an opportunity for them to recuperate some of that and have this type of work be accessible to them so that it's not a barrier. I also think that I like the idea of having it for, I think everybody, I don't pretend to know, nor want to know what every person's financial circumstances are, but I think that everybody has the option to opt out of it if they don't believe that they need it. But thinking about our future board members and the type of people that I would want to encourage to run for office, I would still advocate to have this as a policy, and then everybody can decide, if you don't need it, you don't need it. But just having it there and removing that additional barrier, I think, is a really great thing for our district.
I agree with what Erica said. I've sat on it for a while because we went to the conference, and it does broaden the options for more people to run for office. I mean, I ran, there was, us and then another 3. And a lot of us, I can't speak for everyone, our financial positions aren't all the same. And this gives an opportunity for parents who, can't miss work, can't miss a day, or retreat with 8 hours. Some of us are fortunate enough that we are able to attend those, some are not. And it just gives, like Erica said, it gives the opportunity to have people on the board that normally wouldn't think it would be possible, to be honest. Because it is a lot of time and it can be expensive. You have to run a whole campaign and raise money from that aspect. And people just see that and be like, oh, those people have money to run a campaign. I wish I could do that, but it should be accessible, I guess. I'm thinking. Yeah. And with the option of opting out is great, if you choose not to.
I see your hand up, Nancy, but I want to give Patrick a chance to weigh in before we start going again. That's okay. Thanks. Patrick, do you have any thoughts on this?
Sorry about that. I was just having a drink of water. Yeah, it seems pretty straightforward as far as the decision in that let me turn my camera on. I know Representative Bowman, who kind of spearheaded this being passed last legislative session, was very motivated by testimony from folks who said that most city councils receive small stipends to help them defray the costs of attendance, and that it would be best practice for in reducing any barriers to joining boards that the districts do as well. And so I think it was well intentioned. I don't have a very strong opinion one way or the other. I think it probably is best practice. It's awkward because we're in the position as board members. But I've always thought that in the abstract, before I ever thought that I would be on any role like this, that it was probably appropriate that city council members and county commissioners receive small stipends to defray the expenses of being in office. So I don't have any, in principle, objection to the idea. I think we all volunteer a significant amount of our time in this role, and took it knowing that we would be volunteers, and we'll continue to volunteer a lot of our time no matter what the case is with this. So it's really just a matter of going forward, setting the policy for future boards, whether we think it's an accurate statement that having a small stipend to defray expenses reduces barriers or not. So I don't have, I feel a little bit awkward because I'm in the position now, but I think just as on principle, taking myself out of it, I think that it doesn't seem particularly unusual to me. So.
It's so yeah, I guess from my lens was similar to what you all said. And we did, and all of us who sought the position and are in a position now knew that it was a volunteer position when we started. I do worry that the fact that that's true may have artificially drawn a line and who felt empowered or in a position of draw. I know we've had at every election cycle, we have conversations about, so you think you want to be a school board member, this is what it means. We do those sessions. And just conversations in the community where I've talked to amazing people and said, yeah, you should think about running. Well, I just don't have the time, I couldn't afford it. And so it has come up in conversations. So I get to your point, Patrick, we're all in the position now, we knew that was what we were signing up for. I do have a sense of if this can make a difference to somebody going forward where they didn't think they could afford to do, take the time off from work, take the days off. So it is, I just talked about making a board goal of trying to go to activities. A lot of those happen during normal work hours. When you have to miss that job, you probably won't get paid for that. I think there are also many situations where we talk theoretically about reimbursements being available, but if somebody with kids that require childcare thought about, and they just have their mom or dad, you probably would feel weird submitting a reimbursement for that expense for your mom or dad. But if you were getting a stipend, maybe you make sure, that domestic work, so much domestic work is not accounted for, labor force is considered unpaid. So there are situations where, family members would do childcare for you and you probably wouldn't submit a reimbursement if you had to hire a babysitter. I still wouldn't even submit a reimbursement. If we decide to have it, I don't know if I would avail myself of it or not. My feeling is similar, I guess, Erica and Yvette, what they said about, the idea of creating opportunities for people who might not have been able to avail themselves. So I'll stop for a minute for some more. Before we circle back, I think Nancy has something she wanted to add. Do any of our students? I mean, you definitely would not be getting a stipend for what it's worth. Good, but do you have any thoughts on this? I mean, you're here to share your perspectives, and I want to make sure that if you have any thoughts, we want to make sure you're giving the opportunity before we go back and everybody have a second shot at speaking.
I think the option, have it or to not opt in or out is a great option, because I think Erica was saying is more accessible. And I think option should be there, but it's also money that could be someone else used in the district, and that makes it like a tough choice.
Nothing to add, right? That's cool.
I completely agree with you on that.
And Patrick Point City Council probably doesn't spend that any more time on their job than we do. They have a stipend for it, but they know that going in. And when you look at it, getting the job, having the job has eliminated some of the areas of privilege I've had in my life that I wasn't so aware of before. You look at something even like the legislature, it's essentially a full-time job. They get paid kind of like a part-time person or even less. I think when I worked in the legislative office, I probably made more per hour than the representative did. Or I know I mean, yeah, so I worry that we're creating this ecosystem where people who want to be involved as an elected person have to already be in a position of privilege to do so. I don't love that. So, sorry, Nancy, you wanted to jump back in?
I think some of this is managing expectation, because a stipend, I can't imagine a stipend that would compensate me for my time and all the time that we spend in these jobs. Not a single stipend. And this sounds like another unfunded mandate or another unfunded option. If it came with funding, we might be able to talk about it. But in my head, this is unfunded. So this is going to fall on the back of our district. And that's what I have my heart, so maybe I should be specific. That's where my heartburn is. We don't have enough funding. We don't have enough to do what we need to do. The last thing I want to see is for us to say, well, now you got to carve out X amount of thousands of dollars to pay your board. Really?
Does anybody have more they would like to add? I didn't expect us to come to a decision today. I also would love to hear Sheehan's perspective on this. I know she can't be with us today. I wanted to kick off the conversation and make sure everybody was aware of sort of the underlying points of the discussion. And yeah, kick off the conversation. Again, we don't have to actually do anything. We do nothing, things stay exactly as they are now, and that is a completely acceptable option, provided under House Bill 2753. Yeah.
Martin, correct me if I'm wrong, but future boards can decide to enact this at any point.
Oh, yes, very good point, exactly. One of the other recommendations that OSBA has is that if you choose to enact this, you do it on an annual basis. That the board would review that decision every year. And you would get, to review what your budgetary impact may have been, or whether it's thought of work or not. And then that way, if, a majority of the board, if we're enacted and a majority of the board didn't like it in a year and just did nothing, it would expire. So that is definitely a recommendation that I don't know that you don't have to do that. We can just make it a policy that is a policy forever. But one of the recommendations OSBA had was, make this a thing that is reviewed annually.
I just had another question about maybe since if it doesn't have to be the full amount of $500. It could be up to $500. You can also decide if you want it to be less than that.
Right. Yes, it could be anywhere. Spencer said it could be 63 cents if you'd like it. Yeah, it's up to 500. And I would bet other districts enact it at a lower number if I had to guess.
Quick question. Is that up to 500 per calendar or per school year?
It's calendar year, so it's 12 months. Spencer was kind of careful on how he mentioned it, so it's for being a member of the board. If you miss 6 meetings, you still get it because you're a member of the board. If you miss a bunch of votes, you still get it because you're a member of the board. It's not quid pro quo, you showed up, you get your money. It becomes a monthly expense that the district incurs for the time that you choose to avail yourself of. Is that right, Michelle? You probably know more of this than I do, but.
You're doing great.
So yeah, Nancy, it's every month.
So 35, there's 7 of us. 500 times 7 is 35. Am I right? 3,500 times 12. That's 42,000.
Yeah, that's the number I've been, like at the most, it would be 42,000 for our district or any district. If you funded it at the highest number, it'd be $42,000 general fund hit for the district. And along with the concept of renewing it every year, that number would be tied to the CPI, consumer price index, so that in subsequent years, the maximum will likely be higher as inflation is taken into consideration.
And what is our annual budget?
Michelle, I want to guess again.
Yeah, you did great. It's around 260. If you're looking at general fund. Just so you guys know, this wasn't final when we were doing our budget development for 23-24. So it's not necessarily a line item in the current year budget. And I don't know if that impacts your thinking or timing. But basically means we would need to look elsewhere in the budget to cover those costs for the current year.
looking forward, we could plan ahead a little bit more. So just something to consider as far as timing.
Yeah, I just wanted to also just point out, like, for our district, our size, I understand the feeling of the heartburn over the amount, but it's really a smaller district that has a really small budget. This is a big impact for them. And I just wanted to kind of illustrate if this is something that helps remove barriers for people to want to participate or encourage that. And in our district, it's something that is compared to our bigger, what we actually have to budget. It's not a big, as big as an impact in the smaller districts.
I get it. And a budget out of 216 million, this is budget dust. I understand that, but we're fighting for every piece of budget dust.
Math, 0.016% of the budget, $42,000. Is that about right?
Yeah.
So 0.016% of our budget, of a smaller district, that would be a much higher percent. So this is again, like that, I struggle with that sort of, we're in a great sweet spot where we're big enough to avail ourselves of economies of scale in a lot of ways, and we're still small enough that we don't, have some of the issues that district like Beaverton or Portland or something have to deal with. So where I like the sweet spot we're in, but this does highlight our own position of privilege in Hillsboro, that if we enacted this and everybody took the most, it would be 0.016% of our budget. Patrick?
Just briefly to mention, on the point of it being an unfunded mandate, I mean, I think that's a fair point for Nancy, but our funding comes from the state anyway, so even if the state provided funding, it would be from the same source essentially. I know that legislative history-wise, this was implemented in part because a few school districts were asking for it as part of their efforts to diversify candidate pools. I know Eugene in particular, but I think there may have been a few others. So it was something some districts had been wanting to do but weren't legally allowed to do. And so I think the legislature was responding to that request from those districts. I don't know that that's important, just filling you in on that.
No, I think that's right. I think that's good context. Yes. If I was pretty sure it was going to diversify candidate pools, I think I'd be all for it. Like, I don't know that I'd be, I think I'd still worry about giving myself $500 a month. Like, I think everybody's sort of point they made about, I'm sitting in the chair, I'm talking about giving myself some money. I think it's every legislator who realizes, everyone in the state house or state senate who realizes that they're working full time and they're getting paid. And so they're always reluctant to provide a salary increase for themselves as well. That always ends up getting killed in committee whenever it's that. So I feel public service should not be a hardship, I guess is what I'm saying. And if we got to a point where we thought like this would help public service not be a hardship, it would be a thing I'd want to support. Anybody else have anything else they want to add? Again, it was just a kickoff of the conversation. I think, your new homework item will be to sort of ruminate on this in your free time. We'll schedule our discussion. I definitely want to hear what Shannon has to say. I think it's in the FAQ, or was it just something we talked about? There's like two things we have to pass in order to get to where I think there's a resolution and then a policy. That's on right, Rose?
Sounds about right.
Yeah, I think if we decided to do it, we first pass a resolution and then we pass the policy saying what our available numbers. I guess I don't know if we set the number at 500 and a board member didn't want to avail themselves of the whole thing, could they avail themselves of less? I think you could, but I guess I don't know that.
Would you like to talk about it again?
I don't know, but Does anybody have a sense of when they want to revisit this? I know it's not an easy topic to talk about, and I appreciate everybody sharing tonight. It was gonna be super awkward, but since it was 90% of the conversation at the conference, I knew it was on everybody's mind. Yeah,
Mark,
Nancy, sorry.
can we possibly bring it back in October?
Yeah, maybe October work session, would that be okay? Okay, yeah, I like that idea. Thank you, Nancy, that's good, yeah, okay, so unless anyone has a serious problem with it, I think we'll revisit this again in the October work session. Right, thank you, everyone, it's not easy. Our next agenda item is to discuss OSBA elections, OSBA board seats, and OSBA legislative policy committee seats are available. I am currently a member of the legislative policy committee representing our region, Northwest region, something like that. I've been doing it for a while. I love the work. It is awesome. You get insights into the legislative procedure. I think when I worked in the Capitol, it helped me sort of understand that work a little bit better. I also realized I've been doing it for a while, and I would encourage anybody who feels like they may want to do it in our board. I'm happy to do it again for another year, but also if we have somebody who's interested, I want to get the heck out of the way. So, and provide opportunities for other people to have the learning experiences that I've had as well. So that's LPC. The other one we will nominate at the September meeting would be OSBA board seat. Erica, you've been a member of the OSBA board for how long? Oh, we lose her. Quite a while. Erica,
Yeah, sorry.
you're currently a member of the OSBA board, right? But you are
I am.
not seeking to continue.
I'm not seeking to continue. No, this will be my last, at the end of December, my term ends. So I'm happy to support anybody from our board that wants to participate. I think we are one of the biggest districts in our region, and it's really important that we have a seat at that table.
And rumor heard tell that one of our board members is interested in Patrick, do you want Patrick, you have something you want to add?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I wonder if it would be possible, I'm sure we could find this online, but it's nice to have the inside scoop. I wonder if you and Erica could write a little bit about the time commitment and duties and, highlights and lowlights of serving in these two different roles, and send that out to the board at some point, just so all of us have a sense for, the real world, what it involves and what the time commitment is.
Sure, I'll just say right now, for the legislative policy committee, it's a few extra meetings a year. They tend to happen virtually. Maybe one per year is in person. You go spend one night at a hotel in Salem and everybody gets together in the same room. I'd say it was an incredibly rewarding experience to be at a table with representatives from all over the state, sharing all different maybe political perspectives, but coalescing around the idea of doing what's best for kids and really finding that common ground that we all have of doing what's best for kids. It was amazingly rewarding experience. You get insight into meeting opportunities. So one of the important lessons I think in legislative advocacy is the idea of getting to know your state legislators outside of the budget cycle. So they realize that not every time you want to say hello to them is you got your hand out and you're asking for something or advocating for something. So the opportunity, much like our superintendent has coffee chats, they have town halls, civic engagement opportunities. So on the LPC, you would get notifications of those for people in your region. So I've been to, back when Representative Neron, who lives in Wilsonville, maybe, or Westland, something like that. Century High School was in her district until we redistricted. So I've been to events way far away from here. but, you know, Beaverton, I've gone to Beaverton meetings, just trying to make sure that legislators see it. So it's like board service, and that there's always gonna be more opportunities to do things than you possibly can. So you pick your opportunities, and then you're expected to, vote on the legislative agenda for whatever session is upcoming. And then, basically it's guiding principles for the OSBA advocacy team to use when they're talking to legislators. So that's what LPC is. Eric, do you want to share like what being on OSBA board is like?
Yeah, so add to board what Mark just said, because board members are also LPC members. So they attend the LPC meetings and then you also attend the quarterly meetings from OSBA. There's also meetings as part of the conference, the November conference. And then you have a board retreat in September, which is like a weekend with the board. And then sometimes there's emergency like meetings that we have to do also just to get some business done. And right now, I think most of the meetings are going to be, at least half of them were virtual and half were in person. When they are in person, it's in Salem. So it is a little bit of a drive out there. But if they're virtual, it's pretty convenient. And there's also other committees that you can serve on. Like Mark said, more work than you can have the time for. But there's a lot of other, like they have finance committees. And then of course you can move your way up in the board. And if you wanted to be in executive leadership, I think I was just vice president for 1 year, and then I just went back down to a board member because it is a lot time commitment. But there's vice president, president, and immediate past president and treasurer. So there's that. And the other piece is that if you are in executive leadership, then you have access to national, the NSBA, National School Board Association, and attending their events, which they have conferences as well as 2 leadership meetings, I believe, for this region, which is like Alaska, Washington, Utah, or Oregon. So yeah, but it's very, very rewarding work. You get to, as Mark said, set a lot of the resources that other school board members might need through OSBA, help them develop their goals for the association as well. Right now, they're in the middle of developing their strategic plan for the association. So that's something that a new person coming in will have the privilege of getting to promote that with the membership.
And we have a board member who was very instrumental in the formation of our strategic plan. Well, I'm super excited to say has expressed interest in taking a position of leadership at OSBA. So from what we've heard, Nancy is considering putting her name forward, and if she wants to tell us why, that'd be awesome. And which would mean she would fill out her packet, and we would nominate her for. Erica, what's your seat number? 15, 20, something like that?
20. Mm-hmm.
20. So we would nominate Nancy for the OSBA Board 20 position at the September meeting if she wants to put her name forward, which I'm hopeful that she does.
So I have had the conversation with several individuals about this position. Erica, you were next on my list. I'm sorry that I had to leave town. So, but looking forward to seeing if I can make a difference and make a contribution for Hillsboro on this level as well. Erica creates big shoes to fill, and I'm looking forward to doing it Nancy style.
You'll definitely bring the bling. Yeah.
So I guess this is Erica is no longer going to continue on the OSBA board, but it appears that we have someone who's looking to step up from Hillsboro and fill that position. I'm excited for that. We don't have to decide today if you would like me to get the heck out of the way for the legislative policy committee, but we would need to nominate by the September meeting, is that right, Rose? I think that's right.
That's when we're gonna do it, not today, we'll do it then.
Right, yeah, not to, but like, you don't have to,
That's the only day.
if you want more context or whatever, you can reach out to me or, you know, ask questions and, I think there are other boards in our region that have expressed interest in me stepping aside and not being on the, or they want to serve in that capacity. They want to serve on the LBC. And I'm all for getting out of the way to create opportunities for other people. I also love the idea that no one board needs to be overrepresented on the legislative policy committee. So I would love for, if I step aside from the seat, for someone from Hillsboro to fill that role, because I think our voice is important at the state level. When we talk about the rural-urban divide and the problems it creates in our state, I love the fact that we have a microcosm of that state problem right here in our own district. Well, 5, 6 schools, Farmington, Growler, West Union. But we have buildings that sit in the middle of farmland, and we have Lincoln Street, right? So I mean, we have the microcosm of the state, and so that one of the things OSBA is considering is a rural caucus, a caucus for rural boards, and yeah, there are benchmarks for if you're considered how many students you have per acre or something like that. And we wouldn't qualify automatically, but you can petition and probably get in. And if the caucus gets created, I would petition to be in because we have a lot of the challenges that rural districts have in many of our schools. So I love the fact that we have both rural and urban schools in our district. I would love to have our voice continue on the legislative policy. So if you want to do it, let me know.
I was gonna say, I just second that, but if somebody from our district is interested in the LPC, that would be great to keep Hillsboro on there. We are often always asked about our work here in our district, and it'd be great to continue having a connection in LPC from our district.
But it doesn't need to be me. Anything else on that front? Nancy, thank you for stepping up and expressing interest in that role. I appreciate it. Next agenda item is the custodial board update, custodial salary update. Michelle and Anna, who was first?
I'm gonna start us off, and you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna have everyone stand up because we like sing. I know, I'm funny. And you're gonna twist because your spine is gonna thank you for that, especially as we get older in our age. So, we are super excited tonight to celebrate support and recruitment and retention efforts for our day, night, and night lead and night lead swing custodians. And we're sharing an update regarding this collaboration and conversation with HCU. And big shout out to Kira for being a part of that conversation with us. I think one of the things that we've been doing since about April is trying to work on the chronic shortages that we've had in these positions. And we have been doing what we call, Michelle and I call phase 1. We've done like our marketing, and we've worked with Box 12, with 0.6, just trying to get things out there, creating more presence in social media. So we've tried to recruit more folks into positions. And tonight, there is no board action that is needed for this. It's the typical kind of negotiation that happens as part of our ongoing conversations with our union partners. And so, as I said, these conversations started this past school year to address those chronic shortages. And we feel it is a great obligation as a district to ensure that we have clean and safe and operationally schools and buildings for our students, for our staff, for our community. And so we just want to thank HCU for these conversations and advocacy and communication throughout the process. And the benefit of this agreement is a strategy we've used in the past for our groundskeepers and our LPNs in order to ensure recruitment and retention, and those efforts have been successful. This last year, we're able to hire all of our groundskeeper positions, which we had many years of chronic shortages. And so we are excited to be able to say tonight that this agreement will benefit about 60 of our custodial staff who will receive a pay grade advancement where we've had chronic shortages, and about 23 will be moving up to step 4, and 36 will receive a one-time custodial service payment, $700. So Michelle's going to share a little more detail about contract services and the budget elements. And you may swivel on down to a seat in the chair if you like. Didn't it feel great to stand up?
Yes. Anna, thank you. Yeah, as Anna mentioned, this strategy has worked for us in the past where we simply place people to hire. We have our managers who look at other districts to see what the competitive wages are in different roles. We look at our attrition data to see where the gaps are. And so we work together with the ECU to identify the step that would be appropriate for placement. It's our intention to always fill our vacancies with staff members and not contracted services. And unfortunately, we have had to use contract service to keep our buildings safe and operational for the last few years. So we're excited about this change. Looking forward to our partnership with the HCU leadership. We talked a lot about the salary and wage study that came out of, that contributed to the last full bargain we had with them. And we're hoping to engage in that process again, because there's such a wide scope of work categories under this single contract. We want to make sure that we are able to recruit and retain staff members. So yeah, budgetarily, the contract costs are going to be transferred to staff costs. So it's pretty budget neutral in terms of what we were able to do.
Any questions?
Questions, anybody? Patrick?
Yeah, thank you for all the information, Michelle. That's great. Not really directly about this topic, but it's mildly related. So I wonder if you mentioned that we've been using a contract with non-employees with an agency to do cleaning, and I hadn't realized that. I wonder if maybe in a future update to the board, you could just let us know where else if there is anywhere else we're using, where people are working in or around our schools where they're not direct employees of ours. I would like to have that information just for my knowledge.
Certainly, we do have a substitute provider. That's probably our biggest service contract, and we have had to use them in other areas when we have chronically hard to fill positions. So I'll send you a list for 22, 23, and then our current.
Yeah, substitute EAs and substitute teachers is probably the biggest one. But we do have building subs who are staff. So those are like a building sub at Device Elementary is probably not a contractor. That's probably
That is a contract service, and they're treated like a long-term sub. So they are placed at that higher rate of pay, and they report to first that building so that there's some stability when staff are out. There's been a lot of illness the last couple of years, so making sure that we have the resources and working with our sub provider, who is oftentimes a recruiter on our behalf. Under both of our license and classified agreements, we are obligated to hire after a certain number of days in a job. So they do provide an opportunity for recruitment there for us.
also serving as a sub for long enough can convert you into a regular employee.
Yeah.
Any other questions? One of the more recent times we've done something like this was with bus drivers. Something similar, maybe not exactly one-to-one, but analogous a little bit. Do we think that increase helped us fill some of the bus driver positions? I guess, do we have evidence that doing something like this has made a difference?
Yes, definitely. As I shared with the groundskeepers, when we moved the salary up to like step 4, we, within, a couple months, were able to fill all those positions. With the transportation, we brought that before the board to vote upon because we had to bring that to ratify with HCU first. And so, yes, that made a huge impact in terms of us being able to recruit and retain customers.
Well, thank you and our union leadership for working hard to get this done. Any other questions regarding that? Okay. Our next agenda item is a rare action item. As you know, during our retreat, we discussed appointing the Equity Advisory Committee, and we realized we're doing things out of order. Francesca, do you want to add any information regarding this?
Yeah, a few slides that just remind us where we left ourselves off with a little bit of clarity for everyone, and then we can move to the action. If that's okay with you.
Go for it.
Okay, well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity and the time to afford us the opportunity to get clear on all of the information that you inquired upon. Just to take us back a little bit in time, when we met in August, we reviewed the cycle of how we select an Educational Equity Advisory Committee and the process that it goes through. We started off with communication, and then an application was released. And then we reviewed the applications, provided some interviews, and then recommended in August, and then we needed to bring it back in September because it needed to be an action item. So just for your memory, that's the process. And that's going to be important to everyone because we're going to clearly go over what it is that school boards intended rules or responsibilities in this are. So if you look at Senate Bill 732, which the Educational Equity Advisory Committee is based off of, it states 4 things that you, as the school board, need to ensure. The first one is that you solicit names, and that is evident of possible members. That's evident in this former slide when we started with our communication, our application release, and trying to get a diverse population. In number B, it says you must ensure that membership is primarily representative of underserved student groups. And in a few slides, I'll show you our demographic breakdown. The third one was knowing that we couldn't exclude any of the applicants because of immigration status. And the fourth is to comply with other requirements established by the State Board of Education. So ODE works closely in line with the Oregon administrative rules, and they clearly lined out in the OARs, which goes to Division 22, that school district superintendent is responsible for coordinating the member nomination process and proposing finalists to the school district board. The school district board is responsible for appointing members from those proposed by the superintendent and ensuring that membership is primarily representative of underserved student groups. We included both of those links in the board packet as well as the ODE guidance that they sent out that states the exact same thing, and those should have come to you last Thursday. And so to go back to support letter B under Senate Bill 732 is, did we gather a diverse group of people? So in the proposed new membership, part of diversity we were also looking at was the new members. Where were they coming from? Were they licensed staff, classified staff? Were they community members, family, parent, guardians, students? Now, although that's not required under this bill, we wanted to ensure that all areas were also looked at when we were selecting, because we had such an abundance of applications. We also wanted to make sure our feeders were representative, because we had a couple of feeders who did not have representation last year in our first year as a committee. Overall, with the proposed and current members, we would have an equal amount of licensed, classified, and administrative staff. We would have 4 community, what should be 4 with the proposed, and then parents and guardians would be our largest, as well as students. So we made our recruitment goals of diverse representation, and that was the addition of two members of our staff, because we had no classified that were represented, and we know that our classified staff offer a perspective that's unique of the position that they are in. We also wanted all of our comprehensive schools, community members, and our representation from each of our comprehensive high school and feeder groups. So the proposed new membership based just on race that Superintendent Ryman is proposing shows us with us meeting that requirement of underrepresented, underserved student demographics for this particular community engagement group. With Hispanic, Black, African American, Asian Pacific Islander, as well as Middle Eastern and Native American were more representative than what we've had in the years past. What this would bring us to with our new current members and proposed, you'll see that the Hispanic and the white are very proportionate to what our district demographics break down. But we also have underserved or historically marginalized groups being represented in our Black, African American, Asian Pacific Islander, Middle Eastern, and Native American. So if we go back to those what are you responsible for as the school board, soliciting names, making sure that it's primarily representative of underserved student groups, not excluding immigration status, and must comply with other requirements as established by the Board of Education, which is spelled out there. We are moving forward today to propose this list of names of students, family and caregivers, classified staff members, and community members as our proposal for appointment onto the Educational Equity Advisory Committee. With the next slide being that there was the finalist applications that were released, I think, to you all in August, and then our proposed dates if anybody would like to attend. Are there any questions?
See any hands up online?
No.
Do we have any questions for Francesca? The fee requirement must ensure that membership is primarily representative of underserved student groups. Do we just, as a slide, so are we interpreting that to mean race? Or are we thinking about students in poverty, homeless students, gender representation, state and federally protected classes? Or are we, the slides just indicate a diversification of race?
Absolutely. And yes, it does include, it includes LGBTQ2IA+, it includes migrant students who live in poverty, students who are experiencing houselessness. So if you do notice in the slides where it did say it showed an equal amount of white and Hispanic, many of those are dual identified in one of the other areas. So we do have a group of about 5 people whose diversity comes maybe by race, but also mainly by students accessing special ed, students who have families who have students who identify as gender diverse, students, families of students or community members or students themselves who are, I just didn't, because it's a minute, I didn't feel I wanted to put too many people on blast of how many for their confidentiality.
Sure. Any other questions?
Nancy has been in.
Oh, thank you. Nancy, you have a question?
Given I am somewhat concerned, Francesca, given the current political climate that this country is in, that if we exclude anybody from being on this group, that we could potentially jeopardize the whole group. Have we made the opportunity for all people who want to be involved, or can we have we nominated a swath of everyone to be on this committee, or did we only seek those underrepresented groups?
Well, part of to answer your question, that went out to all families and it went out in hot news and it went to all of our family groups and it went in newsletters, and it went out on a robocall to all families, not just our racially diverse candidates. It went out to all. And part of what we have to ensure with this, with the Senate bill is that it is a majority representative or research population. I can assure you that each person, each candidate that is in there represents the underrepresented, historically marginalized group, whether or not it's shown in a slide that maybe it's not just by race. It can also be by other qualifiers because they all have the same access point to apply for the position. Does that help?
Yes, thank you, Francesca, and thank you for the help on this. And no matter what somebody says, let's keep going in the same direction.
Do we have a lot of applicants? Do we have to draw significant cut lines?
Well, if you see on there, we have 12 that I believe we're adding on. And our first year, we had over 40-something applicants, and we only took in 16, I believe. This year, we had close to 30 applicants, and we only took in the 12. And with every one of them, when we sent the letter out that they weren't going to be proposed to the school board, we sent them a link to Michelle's budget committee. We sent them a link to the Brooks curriculum advisory. I even got one today from a brand new family to our district who was involved in it in another district. And I gave her a list of other things through our PAC advisories that they could get involved in. And so I think there are other options for people. It's about us continuing to communicate and put it out there that this isn't the only group that's going to discuss equitable or diversification or I think as a district, that is what we stand for. So in every one of these groups, we're making equitable decisions for all of our plans moving forward.
I just want to add to the, with your permission. Sure, of course. My name shows up in this report, but I want to give credit where credit is due to Francesca and her team for how careful and thoughtful they've been about this process. There are more applicants than there are folks who we can select for a committee that can function in its size. So thank you for the criteria that you developed and how you selected the members for this list. I appreciate it.
We did go back and cross-check with last year's applicants to make sure none of them were applying again this year that didn't get selected last year, because we didn't want them for 2 years in a row not to have been selected. So we didn't have any of those, but that will be a practice as we're continuing this on to look at, because they may have just missed it because we have a whole chart and stuff. But we want to hear from them and we want them to get involved because their voice is important. We can just only manage so many people at one time. And manage isn't the proper word. We can't bring about transformative change with too large of a group.
We tend to be very fortunate that more people are interested in serving than we have the capacity.
That's been better.
Any other questions? Would anyone like to make a motion? I move that the board of directors appoint the Education Equity Advisory Committee members as recommended by the superintendent.
Second.
It's been moved by me and seconded by Erica that the board of directors appoint the Education Equity Advisory Committee members as recommended by the superintendent. Rose, can you please call the roll?
Erica Lopez,
Aye.
Patrick McGuire,
Aye.
Nancy Thomas,
Aye.
Monique Ward,
Opposed?
Yvette Pantoja, Mark Watson.
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries. All right. And that concludes the main portion of our agenda. We are at discussion time. We always begin with our student representatives. You then go in whatever you choose and maybe anything else they want to share with us tonight.
I kind of enjoyed this meeting because I was kind of like in it. Now I understood what was going on finally. I'm excited to like see what was good.
I want to talk about something that's not about this meeting. Sure. How proud I am about Glencoe. Just this year, we have an amazing freshman group. Everybody during freshman day, they were all excited to be at Glencoe. They all loved the experience. We tried to help them out, but they just wanted to reach out to us. We were there. I'm talking to a whole freshman team leaders who try to help them out during their first day. Our football team, we held high. And we have so far this week the best student section in all of Hillsboro. It's ranked by OSA.
I just want to say how proud I am of the freshmen of my,
I just wanted to say that.
I just wanted to say that.
Much to add, but like Kylie said, I really enjoyed playing this game. But I understood everything less at the retreat. It was like lots of taking, but she was being a lot of me.
And I apologize again for the order in which things happened. Yes, orientation should have happened before the retreat. I was out of the country, couldn't make that happen. But yes, I'm very glad this made a lot more sense. And I hope that this is sort of indicative of how we do work sessions. So sessions downstairs are intended to be a little bit more formalized, follow Robert's Rules of Order a little more closely. Although Robert's Rules of Order are here to serve us, we don't serve them. But up here, the intent is for us to carry out the work of the school district. So the work of public officials to be carried out in public. That's why some of us had been in informational sessions about the stipend, for example. We're very careful not to discuss it because that would be inappropriate. We could probably have to one, but yeah, I'm a little overprotective about that kind of thing. So yeah, so when we have stuff to discuss, this is the forum for that. Travis, anything to add tonight?
Yeah, I wanted to thank everybody for the planning and preparation for tonight's board meeting. Wanted to report that we had 120 students accessing our shuttle to go to different CTE programs on the first day of the shuttle last week. We had to bring in an extra bus for one of our students. We opened a diesel mechanics program at our North Transportation facility, including 5 young women who are part of the diesel mechanics program. Opened Tamarack Elementary School, which is beautiful. Thanks to everybody who came to the kickoff event. Fall sports have started. Schools representing. Excited about that. Middle schoolers showed up. By all reports, middle schoolers showed up this year ready for school. They're going to class on time and engaged in learning. If you pop into a middle school classroom, which goes great at our middle level. Just had a conversation with Olga this afternoon about how, as far as community and family engagement goes, we're feeling the ripples of the HSD style of engaging communities. And we've seen our partners with Washington County Office of Equity, HPD, the Sheriff's Office, the City of Hillsboro, and Washington County Juvenile really getting together with families, raising voices, and creating pathways for services to families and kids in our community through the summer and the fall. We also see enrollment looking pretty steady. We'll have enrollment numbers next month, but there's a slight increase in enrollment in HSD. We know that the numbers will fall a little bit after the 10-day drop period, but signs are encouraging for enrollment across our school district. And last but not least, we had kindergartners make it to school and home safely on the first day of school, which is what we all sweat the first day of school. So good job, 5-year-olds. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Board time, we'll start online. Nancy, anything you want to add tonight?
Nothing tonight. Thank you for putting up with my distance.
Oh, best of luck in your endeavors over there. Erica, do you want to share tonight?
No, I just want to say thank you to Nancy for stepping up and interested in being on OSBA. Be great to continue our Hillsboro representation there. And actually in a couple of weeks, I will be attending their retreat to start working on their strategic plan. So it'll be nice to be able to hand that off. We can't hear you if you're talking. I don't know.
I think I lost audio. Is everyone still there?
Yeah, we got you now. Is there anything you want to share tonight?
Oh, I couldn't hear you in the room for a minute. Yeah, just to say it's really exciting to be back to school. I live a few blocks away from Witch Hazel Elementary, so it's exciting when I'm in the mornings off to meetings or work events, seeing the kids walking to school, and it's exciting to think about all our teachers and educational assistants working with those students again. I was visiting with some family friends who have one elementary school boy, and his younger brother is not school age, and so he was the one that's school age, went off to school, and then they said, yeah, the younger brother said, I want to go to school someday too. He was a little sad that his brother was going without him, but I thought, that's a nice reminder that we want all the kids in our district to be enthusiastic about, the joy of school and excited to when it's their time to go and learn. So I just am feeling a little bit sentimental about how exciting it is to, we talk so much about budgets and policies, but it's just great to see the kids out there and getting their needs met. And so I'm sure it's going to be a great year to work with all of you.
Thank you. Monique, anything you want to share tonight?
No, just to say, it's good to see everyone again and kicking off the new year, and hope everything goes smoothly for us, and it's great to see our student reps here and meeting all of you, so getting to know you guys more.
The side effects of being vice chair is you get to go almost last. Anything you want to add to that?
I just want to say thank you for all your work. It's exciting to be here. It's been the highlight of my day. Honestly, it really has. And I'm very excited to be here.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks everybody for having this tough conversation today. Appreciate everybody's input. I feel like even though it was achieved, this is kind of like your first board meeting. So, it might be first academic year board meeting, like your first board meeting superintendent. So awesome. Glad I got to be part of it. Travis mentioned the opening of Tamarack, which was just a really majestic event. Thanks to communication team, bond team, everybody put that together. It was just fantastic. Very appreciative I got to participate in that. If anybody wants to, as Erica said, sort of hand off manual. If anybody wants more information about being on the legislative policy committee with OSBA, I'm happy to share that information with you. Whenever you'd like, I think y'all have my number, you can text me. And we're done a little bit early.
Yes.
All right, a couple minutes early. My son just arrived after graduating from the University of Chicago. He's back for the first time in about a year, so I'm very excited to get home and maybe catch the end of dinner. So we are adjourned. Thanks.